The real treasure might not be what you find, but what you discover along the way. That, we're finding the gold.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, yeah, okay, we started a podcast. Yeah, we're fully hooked. We're finding this motherfucker. We are.
Can you find what lives in time, flowing through each measured rhyme? Wisdom waits in shadowed sight for those who read these words just right. As hope surges clear and bright, walk near water's silent flight. Round the bend, past the hole, I wait for you to cast your pole. In Ursa East his realm awaits, his bride stands guard at ancient gates. Her foot of 3 at 20 degree, return her face to find the place. Double arcs on granite bold, where secrets of the past still hold. Beyond the reach of time's swift race, wonder guards this sacred space. Truth rests not in clever minds, not in tangled twisted finds. Like a river's steady flow, what you seek, you already know. Now for some, those might just seem like the ramblings of an odd man on a podcast. But for someone out there, hopefully someone listening, what lies in those words is a treasure worth more than $1 million. Yes, that's right. Welcome to the debut episode of The Hunt for Posey's Treasure. Why are we here? I know why I'm here. Because I can't stop thinking about this fucking treasure. And I want to solve it. And I believe the man alongside me in this podcast does too. And I think we can. So why are you here? Well, you probably saw that documentary on Netflix, and maybe you're formulating your latest solve. Or maybe you're a seasoned treasure hunter, just seeing what these yuppie youngbloods are thinking in case maybe they actually drop something that makes a little sense. Or maybe you're the man himself, Justin Posey. And if you are, well, you're going to have the privilege of hearing us unravel your grand mystery one thread at a time. In either case, we're glad you're here. And with that, I will pass it to my co-host so you can greet our audience for the first time.
Wow, that intro, you do a podcast and you kind of talk about a little bit about what you're going to do and the dynamic and like maybe an outline, which I haven't seen an outline. That was incredible. Wow. When you said pole and hole, I was,
oh my God.
But this isn't that kind of podcast. I think, yes, I wouldn't classify myself as a treasure hunter per se, but I definitely hunt treasure. And I'm really excited about this. I think naturally we both are we're into puzzles, we're into riddles, we're into all of this. We're into $1 million treasures, baby. So it all kind of fits. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I am juiced and jazzed and ready to talk about it.
Before we dive really into anything, let's set the stage here. As we said from the opening, this is a podcast about a treasure hunt, which was started by a man named Justin Posey. He currently resides in Texas. He has an entire website that will give you all the information you need if you've never even heard about this. Can be found at treasure.quest /en if you speak English. And there he lays it out. But in terms of who is this man, Justin Posey, you can learn a lot about him, by watching, if you have access to Netflix, the documentary which recently debuted is called Gold and Greed, The Hunt for Fenn's Treasure. And so the way this connects to what we're talking about now is back in 2010, an elderly gentleman named Forrest Fenn started his own treasure hunt, which I was completely unaware of, but apparently was a pretty big deal. Lasted, as I said, over the course of 10 years. Thousands of people participated. Several folks died pursuing this treasure. It was controversial. People told him to call it off. And then sometime in 2020, the treasure was discovered. At first, the finder of the treasure was anonymous, but later he was revealed, I believe it was due to legal reasons, But ultimately, Forrest Fenn's treasure was discovered in Yellowstone National Park at a location where he himself, Forrest, grew up. It was his favorite fishing spot with his father, and he had published a book alongside a poem, which was designed to lead you to the treasure. And the treasure was ultimately found by a man named Jack Stouff, S-T-U-E-F. He was 32 years old. He was a medical student. He was active on the subreddits. He was checking theories. He was doing what we're going to be doing on this show.
I come from a film and television background, as does my co-host, and basically saw the Netflix doc. You were like, you have to watch this. You got to check it out. And I thought it was really well done. It was a really good show. And it definitely had the twist in the ending that I was not expecting, which was delightful. And yes, as you have gone deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole, I have been sucked into that vortex as well. And it's hard not to just start letting your mind wander. Where does this go? Where is this treasure? What does this mean?
One of the things I was going to, put in there in the intro is like, we're just amateur treasure hunters. But then I thought, like, everybody's a fucking amateur. Nobody's out there getting paid to treasure hunt. This is a quest, we're doing in our free time, like I imagine everyone out there. But it sparked something inside of me. And I never would have thought, months ago, if you had told me, like, this is what I'd be doing. But I'm in. My wife is in. We're reading this poem. We have the ebook. We don't have the hard copy book. So, yeah, for some context about who we are, we're new to the game. We were not involved in the Fenn treasure hunt. We're late to the scene, but we're not late to this game. So that's how I kind of think we are as this jumping off point for this series. But as we shared the conclusion of that Fenn treasure hunt, which I, again, told you it concluded in 2020, one of the biggest participants in that hunt was the man we've been mentioning, the man whose namesake is on the title of this podcast, Justin Posey, computer engineer, I believe. As I said, currently resides in Texas, raised in Arizona, became obsessed with the hunt. He's one of the main subjects in the documentary. I will spare you the details, but ultimately he came within 200 meters of finding the treasure, but did not. After the treasure was found, the treasure was auctioned off, and Justin had actually intended to purchase the entire thing and rehide it, but was only unable to do so. He was only able to acquire several of the items, not all. And then the big announcement, spoiler alert, if you're going to watch the documentary, skip ahead like 30 seconds because I'm going to spoil the very, very ending. Justin reveals at the end of the documentary that he himself has launched a new treasure hunt. There are clues in the documentary. And then he released this whole website, which the cornerstones are the poem, which was read at the very beginning of this episode. And then there also is a book, which must be purchased. The poem and all that other stuff is free on the website, but the book must be purchased. That was announced, I think, within this past month, or maybe it was April or March of 2025. So as I said, this hunt is new. This hunt is going on, and we are going to be active participants in it.
Maybe we should talk about, who do you think the audience is for this? Is it all of the above? Is it the seasoned treasure hunters? Is it also, it's good to classify the two of us in two separate ways. I think that I'm probably the most amateur, still learning, still understanding, still trying to you text me stuff. We talk all the time about, where this is going, all little clues, riddles, like looking at it different ways, all of those things, looking at maps, trying to decipher all of this. And I'm just a regular ass dude looking at this, trying to formulate some kind of way of approaching the answers. And I think maybe you're one step ahead of me. You're reading the forums. You're engaged online. It's maybe that's the separation, but hey, we're both now recording a podcast about this. So I guess maybe we've stepped up our what's the word? Maybe our commitment to this, you could say. But yeah, I think this is for everybody. I think it's for people that have watched the doc, are curious about it, maybe Google it, and it's like, oh, whoa, there's a podcast about this. Who are these losers talking about it? Well, that's us, and we're open to everybody, right? I think that's kind of it. It's not like we're trying to target people that, I guess the question is, do you think, are we going to be giving, sharing our full thoughts and process with this, where we're at with this. Like, is it like a try at its best, a helpful guide? Like, what are we going to be giving these people? Like, what is it, you know?
It's a great question. Lot to unpack there. Firstly, who is this for? Yeah, it's for everybody. Men, women, children, people that are, just passively kind of following the hunt, seeing if there's any progress. We will be chronicling if there's breakthroughs. So this is going to be your source of news. It's going to be your source of the latest theories. It's going to be your source of the latest clarifications, which, speaking of, just this week, the date of this recording is May 1st, 2025. A few days ago, we had a new clarification from Justin himself. So as we've seen already, this is an evolving thing. This isn't just like he put a chest out there, go figure it out. The last hunt, for context, took 10 years until that was found. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I feel certain, or determined, I should say, that we are going to be there to the end. And I mean, God willing, we'll be the motherfuckers that unearth that thing, right?
Yeah, that would be pretty incredible for, potential sponsors, baby, if we were the ones that unfolded the riddle. But yeah, I think that's all spot on. Of course, yeah, I mean, we've kind of started discussing plans of like where we would go, what we would do, like where is the starting point? Like when we physically, at some point here go out there searching like rabid dogs for this thing in the wilderness, we're going to be there doing that. I got a back problem, so hopefully I can fix that before we get on a flight or go on a long car drive, but that's a me problem, not a podcast problem. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that I don't know these updates, so I think that probably I'll be the one that is leaning on you for updates and new information and anything that, honestly, like a virgin audience listener would be wanting to hear as well.
Yeah, I mean, for those who maybe recognize the voices, this is not our first podcast, and I feel it's going to be similar where, yes, you are learning very much alongside our audience at the start, but I believe as time goes on and you become more invested and more knowledgeable, you'll start to perhaps lead some theories of your own. But for context, this first episode is really, it's going to be laying the baseline information. If you've never heard about this treasure hunt, any of that, it's going to be in here. And just really setting the stage. But we will be dropping these every week, and we intend to go into this both broad and deep. Some of the things I plan to explore are some of the more common theories that are out there. I'm big on the subreddit. Specifically, I believe it's r/Justin Posey's treasure. I believe that's the biggest one right now. So that's where I'm at. I'm not going to dox myself, tell you my user handle, but I'm on there. So we'll be pulling from there. We will be re-examining the Fenn treasure hunt because I believe there's a lot to be learned from that experience considering how involved Justin was. And then we'll just be following along with the journey here. Some other details we will go into in terms of what it is not, but it is in the United States, Western United States. That includes Alaska, but not Hawaii. Though beyond that, we really don't know anything else.
I think, do we talk about where is his family from? Like, I guess that's kind of the starting point. I don't know. Do you have an idea?
Well, I think we're still in the prologue, baby. We're not even at chapter 1.
Oh, sorry. God, I just got to get it out. Sorry, I'm just ready for this. Okay, keep going.
So the treasure itself, the contents are specifically described. The value is estimated at over $1 million US dollars. Contains an assortment of jewels, riches, artifacts, rubies,
but also
meteorite.
One question I had, and maybe I just was I didn't catch this in my first viewing of the documentary, but there's pieces of the original treasure he bought from Heritage Auctions that he put in. It's not the whole treasure, but certain pieces, right?
Yeah, I can tell you've really done your research.
Well, that's what I'm here for, is the research. But please, I know what it is. If you want to say it, you can.
Yes, so a part of this treasure does include some of Forrest Fenn's treasure. But the broad rules are it is hidden somewhere in the western United States. If you go to that aforementioned website, there is a map displayed clearly. It effectively features everything to the west of, really, what is that, New Mexico there in the bottom right? I'm horrible with geography. Or is that Texas?
It doesn't include Texas. I looked at the map. Yeah, it's
okay.
definitely not Texas. It's west of that.
Well, the aforementioned website goes into it specifically. It's a 60-pound treasure.
Damn. Okay. Well, I got to get my back in shape before I pick that thing up.
Filled to the brim with precious metals, gemstones, historical artifacts, and more, including specifically gold, PAMP, Swiss kilogram bars, gold flakes, gold dust, and more. There are precious gemstones like large, loose emeralds, rubies, and deep purple amethysts. There are historical artifacts, including 3rd century Kushan dynasty, the Crusades, the Byzantine Empire, and even the Persian Shiite Buyid dynasty, of course.
Obviously, you got to have that. Why couldn't? Yeah, you got to have that. Any good treasure does.
Of course. And he also has included one of the oldest coins ever made by man, but not aliens. The Lydian Empire, which was made around 561 BC. There's also a large meteorite and other special pieces. And finally, there's a Bitcoin wallet. Yes, a crypto wallet. And apparently you can check the balance, and a portion of the book sales is actually going to that. So the value of the treasure is actually going to be growing over time.
Wow, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know that. What is PAMP? You said PAMP. What the heck is that?
I don't know. I'll let you do some research on that. It's some specific type of gold, I guess. It sounds very pure and,
got it.
And very valuable. So that said, are you with me?
Is that to the audience or is that to me?
That's to everybody, baby. Are you out there? Are you with me?
Well, I doubt people are driving in their car listening to this saying yes out loud, but I can say it. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm here. I'm ready for it.
Okay. All right. Cool. So with that said, as we said, that the clues are few and far in between, but the rules are somewhat clearer than the Fenn treasure, I would say. First and foremost, I will read through the rules here. Treasure, anytime he refers to that, it means the prize you're looking for. It is not like, oh, the treasure was in your heart or the friends we made along the way, that type of bullshit. The clues are all hints that will help you find the treasure, and hunt items can refer to the treasure and all the clues. So where the hunt items, aka treasure and the clues, are not. They are not underwater. They are not located on private property. They are not located in caves, mines, or tunnels. They are not located at any places that need repelling. They are not associated with any man-made buildings. I think that's one of the more important ones. They are not located near graves or grave markers. And as a general rule, he says they are not located in dangerous places. We'll touch a little bit more on that either this episode or later. Where the hunt items are, they are located at least 1 mile away from anywhere Justin Posey, his family, or friends live, work, or own. So don't go doxing this guy, bothering him and his family while they're at work, on their lunch break. Stay away from that.
You can tell he learned a thing or two from Forrest Fenn's situation on multiple fronts of the bullet points of where it's not and what not to do, which I'm sure we'll talk about some of the more negative outcomes of, obviously negative outcomes of that situation.
Exactly. And there's so much to explore with this. There's so many, you hear Cowboys already to dive into the deep end here on the first episode. But as we said, we'll be bringing you these weekly. We'll be going deep, shallow, far, all the way in between. But for the purpose of this episode, we're setting the stage. So additionally, as we said, not near where any of them live, work, or own property. It is, however, located on publicly accessible land that anybody can visit. He claims it is safe to get. You do not need climbing gear or ropes. You do not need permission to enter private land. You do not need swimming skills, ladders, or climbing skills, or a high clearance vehicle.
Yeah, I wonder if this dude put like a tracking device on it. This guy seems like a tech he's a computer engineer, software engineer. So it's obviously very similar to the Forrest Fenn treasure, but the individual that is the one planting the treasure and setting off this goose chase, you kind of have to look at it. It's just interesting. He's so much more tech savvy. It makes me kind of like reconsider a lot of the ways that I've approached this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And obviously he has the hindsight of viewing how intense the original treasure hunt became. it's mind-blowing because the level of detail, it could be far simpler than you think it is. It could be way more complex than you can even imagine. And I guess that's why there's going to be never-ending theories until this bad boy's found.
Yep. And to back to your point about the lessons learned from the Fenn treasure, I alluded to the fact, there were folks who died. There were several lawsuits, many of which actually yielded some very interesting information that we'll dive into in later episodes. But the first thing you're going to notice when you visit this treasure hunt site is you have to agree to like legal stuff before you can even do it. So he has dotted his I's, crossed his T's in that regard. It's out there. It's a real thing. This isn't just some scam to sell books. And he doesn't want people to die this time.
Are you telling me that I'm going to have to pay taxes on this treasure when I find it?
I don't know. That's a episode in it of itself, probably much farther down the line.
Speaking of episodes down the line, we haven't talked about this, and I haven't told you this, and I can't believe I didn't tell you this with how much we've been talking about this, and now that we're doing a podcast about it. But in the Netflix series, in the 3rd episode, they introduced Forrest Fenn's lawyer that's based in Santa Fe. That dude is a really good friend of mine's uncle. That's her uncle. That's it, her like mom's brother.
Bro.
And when they texted me this and they're like, hey, have you seen this? And I was like, no. And then I forgot about it. And then I watched it and I saw the last name and I was like, holy shit, is that? And then they confirmed that it was. So just throwing this out there, later down the line, I think we could get that guy on, no problem. I could call him anytime.
You better line up that interview.
Oh, we could get him easy. Yeah, so we'll line that guest up. That would be fantastic. We'll do that.
Wow. Well, look at that. And again, Justin, you're out there. We'd love to have you on the show. Maybe we need a little time, but we're legit. We're not going anywhere. We do what we say. We will deliver. That said, I've gone over, I believe, the ground rules. There's also a few FAQs I believe we should dive into. Where can you watch the documentary? As we said, it's on Netflix. Was Forrest Fenn's treasure really hidden at 9 Mile Hole? So that is actually not 100% confirmed, but there's an entire website called fennchest.com, fennchest.com. I highly recommend it. If you're listening to this podcast and you're at all interested in that Fenn chest, check out that site. It is incredible. Somebody really chronicled and basically reverse engineered that they do believe that it's fairly indisputable. It was at 9 Mile Hole. It was a specific location.
Wait, are you talking about the spot where Justin in the documentary goes and he like matches the photo up? Yeah,
and he matches the tag. They basically have reverse engineered that. They did soil tests and stuff to like check the composition of the soil. All these things basically line up to reiterate that theory in the doc, which is commonly held. Still not confirmed by the person who found it.
What is seen in that documentary too? That was so emotionally moving. I thought that was a beautiful moment when Justin was there. That was it could have been not what I thought it was, but it was every bit of it. It was very moving. If you haven't seen the damn documentary, you should watch it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the doc, the importance of this treasure hunt in Justin's life was not just because it was a pursuit of riches. There's actually very, very poignant and tragic storyline that we will dive into, but too much to unpack today. But yes, as you said, some very emotional stuff. Fantastic doc. Credit to the filmmakers out there. Wonderful job, as you said. I was hooked. I didn't even turn this documentary on, actually. This whole thing is kind of like just a flicker in the wind, caught fire. I had some relatives visiting. My wife's mother and her partner were in town. They're on the TV, throwing on a Netflix. I'm literally walking through the room, and then I see this redneck family on the couch talking, and I caught my ear. And then by the end of the weekend, I'm online. I'm reading the poem. I'm starting to track this new treasure hunt. So what is the treasure hidden in? Is it in a treasure chest? And he says, yes, the treasure was photographed inside of a 16-inch leather briefcase. But this was only used for display purposes and is not what the treasure is hidden in. When you find the actual treasure, its container will be immediately recognizable, are the words I'm reading from his site. I've intentionally kept the true container's identity secret. For those familiar with Fenn's treasure, no, it is not hidden in the Fenn chest, and you do not need any knowledge of the Fenn treasure hunt to recognize the container.
Good to know. Good to know. So, and also just asking here, did he end up buying the chest that it was in? Because there's that really great scene in the documentary where he's at Heritage Auctions and he goes through it, you see the chest, and it's all the stuff. Did he end up getting the chest or not?
I don't know that for sure. He didn't specify, at least as far as I know at the time of this recording, what specific items he purchased, aside from there was like a dragon bracelet that they did say specifically he did acquire. But in terms of the chest, which was a super ornate, hand-carved, like wooden chest, I don't know who owns that. Was super cool, though.
Yeah, that was very, very cool. And I would imagine that he's doing something similar with a badass holder or chest or something. It's got to be... I don't know. I think that it's like going to be very analogous to the original in many aspects, you know? I mean, he seems like a nostalgic dude, you know, and that obviously meant a lot to him. So I think there's going to be a lot of callbacks.
Yeah. I mean, the whole structure of the hunt itself is kind of a duplicate of the last. And so next questions, where do I go searching? He says the American West. The map is on the homepage. We've discussed that. What happens if no one finds it? The treasure will wait. It rests in a location I chose carefully, ready for the person who can decipher the clues. Will there be updates or additional clues released? Any updates will be posted to this site, and any updates posted to the site will be then shared on this podcast. So you just stick with us. We will shepherd you along this journey, ensure you are informed as you can be. How long has this hunt been planned? I tossed around the idea for many years. Deliberate planning began in 2022, and then in 2023, I embarked on 2 separate journeys, totaling well over 9,000 miles to hide this treasure. So those are some important numbers that we're going to be keeping track of and referencing. 2 separate journeys to hide the treasure that totaled over 9,000 miles. There's a lot of ways to interpret and have that kind of color certain theories of the hunt. I went completely off grid during these excursions, leaving no digital breadcrumbs. The first trip served as a reconnaissance mission, while on the second journey I hid the treasure somewhere along my path, but not at my final destination. And deliberately, he traveled further than necessary to obscure the trail. Every detail has been carefully considered, from the location selection to the verification process.
You know, one thing I was realizing as you said that I loved about kind of Justin's approach to finding Fenn's treasure was that lovely dog he had he trained it to smell copper, which I thought was brilliant. And they kind of say that in the first episode, or that's kind of when they unveil that information, his approach with the dog. And I thought that was genius. I thought that was such a smart thing, and I wouldn't be surprised, because the dog's obviously such a big part of his life. There's got to be something with the dog, baby. And you're talking about not leaving breadcrumbs. Maybe that dog left a little poo-poo crumb, you know what I mean? Maybe we try to find that.
Jesus Christ. The dog, Justin's trusty dog, was named Tucker. May he rest in peace. Has a very large part in the documentary and seems to have played a very large part in Justin's life. So I believe there's going to be some sort of involvement, homage, connection to Tucker. But that said, that's a whole episode worth of exploring. But to go back to your comment, yes, he had trained his dog to be kind of a secret weapon in this hunt, trained him to sniff out copper, which the chest was made of copper. But unfortunately, this was thwarted because Yellowstone forbids you from having dogs. So he was unable to bring it, which begs the question, being 200 meters from it, if he had the dog, had Tucker, would he have found it? Who knows, but I'm 99% certain, and I'll have to find this information where I cite it in the future, but I believe he has confirmed for this hunt, it's located somewhere where dogs can go. So that begs the question, are you going to go to the pound, maybe get a fucking bloodhound, help us out here?
So wait, my first question, I didn't realize Tucker passed away.
He did, since the filming of the movie.
Oh, that's so sad. That is so sad. Yeah, that was a beautiful dog too. That dog was so cool. But yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. I think we could totally do an episode about Tucker, and maybe we'll put that in the show notes for the next one. But you and I have theorized. We got a couple theories about Tucker, and maybe we'll leave it for the next one. But yes, definitely Tucker's involvement. I mean, I didn't realize the dog passed away. That's so sad. But yeah, it makes me want to get a dog and train it. You got a dog? You thinking about training little Bear to sniff copper?
I don't know. I got a dog. He's an old timer. He doesn't like to ride in cars too much. So we'll see. That said, next question on the FAQ is, who knows where the treasure is hidden? Not a soul knows the location except me being Justin Posey. The steward, as I alluded to before, has no knowledge of where the treasure is hidden. No one knows but me. No one. And then finally, I'm in a wheelchair. Can I get to the treasure myself? The treasure hunt takes place in the wilderness and is thus not wheelchair accessible. But due to these natural conditions, participants using wheelchairs will require significant assistance to reach the treasure. I apologize, I wasn't able to create a more accessible experience, but the nature of this hunt involves outdoor environments that haven't been developed with accessibility features. That said, though, folks that maybe are located away from the American West, even outside of the country, you can still take part in helping us uncover this treasure because much of the poem and much of the clues can be deciphered via your computer from the safe place of your home. So we are looking for everybody out there, all theories. Everyone is welcome in this treasure hunting tent.
Yeah. That's kind of, I think, the most fascinating part of this is there's a lot to be done before you put boots on the ground.
Yes, certainly so. And I think that's really going to be the structure of this leading up. But as my co-host alluded to, we plan to go boots on the ground at some point, being located ourselves here in the far west of the American West. But moving on to the final set of questions here. Wow, actually, there's a lot more questions. Holy shit. So I'll go through these quick. Do I have to buy the book? The book offers additional insights and different perspectives that searchers will find valuable, but it is not required to participate in the hunt. Anyone can read the poem and go out searching, but that said, the best way to find the treasure is to understand the person who hid it, and the book provides a deeper window into that perspective.
Yes, I don't have the book. For what it's worth, doing a podcast, don't have the book, but I know you have the book, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I have the ebook, but interestingly enough, there's a hardcover book. Oh, they're the same, right? No. He's clarified that each format presents certain details in unique ways that observant readers might find valuable. While either version alone is sufficient for participating, serious searchers may find insights in comparing both. What are your thoughts on that? I think that's pretty interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, as a cynical person, my first thought is he wants you to buy both, baby, which I totally get. And by the way, please like and subscribe on multiple platforms, Apple and Spotify and anywhere you get your podcast. So I hear where he's at. I totally get it.
That's a great point. I think everyone, let's take a moment. We're a brand new podcast. We want to hit the ground running. We want to grow. We want to reach more audiences. Like, subscribe. Hopefully we'll have a Blue Sky account up here. I know we have a YouTube page going to be going up live. So yeah, I'll flip it back to you there though.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe since you bought the ebook, I'll buy the hardcover. We'll compare
there we go.
differences. That's what we should do. Okay, that's the plan.
And when you go to the book page, the way he states it differently is, astute readers may notice subtle differences between the ebook and the hardcover. Those differences are intentional. So, as I said, some real fascinating, there's just so many facets of this coin or diamond or whatever. You can view it from so many different unique angles and perspectives that all kind of give you a different view of things. So it's pretty nebulous.
Well, that's the hard part too, is like how many red herrings are there?
Yes.
You know? You start putting your mind into something and you might literally be wasting your time. Probably more times than not you are. But you have no validation if you're going in the right direction. That's what makes it so tricky and tough, you know? That's, I guess, a treasure hunter's dilemma.
Indeed, exactly. Like, what is a clue, what is not? And again, this is a piece of information which we'll dive into. Certainly, it is at the core, and I'm going to conclude the episode discussing it slightly, but he has stated that there is a checkpoint, quote unquote, during the process of finding the treasure, which he has indicated when you reach the checkpoint, you will know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are on the right path, that you have made it to where you're supposed to be effectively.
So that's a really interesting point because Fenn didn't have that in his search. So he's basically throwing you a bone saying, hey, like, I know it's tough. I know there's all these different places you could look. I know all of this stuff. But when you get close, you'll know. It's almost like he's redoing the situation in which he was in, because he was right there with the other treasure. He walked the same area. So I feel like there's kind of this compassion in a way he's giving. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean?
I mean, it's a clue, but then it's also a wrinkle in my mind. But that said, I'm curious. To me, that's going to be one of the most monumental moments, perhaps, of this search, is if one day I get on the subreddit and it's like, I found the checkpoint.
Wow.
Will the person share that publicly? I don't know.
Hell no. Hell no, they won't.
Who knows? But to answer a previous question you had, what steps have you taken to ensure the integrity of the treasure hunt? He says, every aspect has been carefully planned and legally documented. A steward holds the verification materials. A digital footprint was publicly posted in 2023, and the entire process has been notarized and validated. What advice do you have for searchers? Take your time, make memories. I hid this treasure to inspire people to step away from their screens and into adventure, and to launch a podcast. The real treasure might not be what you find, but what you discover along the way. Fuck that. We're finding the gold.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, yeah, okay, we started a podcast. Yeah, we're fully hooked. We're finding this motherfucker. We are.
All right, and then the final details, which will be certainly germane to us as future discoverers of this. How will the finder verify their discovery? I've established a straightforward verification system. The treasure contains specific elements that match a digital fingerprint held by the steward. When found, these pieces will prove beyond a doubt that you've discovered the genuine treasure. Instructions for contacting the steward are included with the treasure. And then there's a 30-day claim window. What's the 30-day claim window about? Once you find the treasure, you have 30 days to contact the steward and complete the verification process. This ensures the legal transfer of the physical treasure and access to the Bitcoin wallet. Don't worry, the verification process is simple and clear instructions are provided with the treasure. Miss that window and you'll lose out on the Bitcoin, the legal rights to the treasure, and probably a decent night's sleep fretting about it. So don't delay, dear finder. If I find it, can I remain anonymous? Yes. While you'll need to complete the verification process with the steward, you can choose to remain anonymous to the public. Your privacy will be respected unless a court orders to the contrary. How will I know if someone finds it? The steward will make an official announcement through this website and verified social media channels once a successful find has been properly verified. This ensures the announcement will be made even if I am no longer able to do so.
Well, yeah, I mean, all that makes sense. You find the damn treasure, let them know. And I don't know. It's interesting, like, the idea of being anonymous after finding this is, I don't know. I feel like people would want to be known for finding it, It's like
but Fenn, the man who discovered Fenn's treasure, did not. He did not, and he's not out here, like, suckling the tea to fame from this. I haven't heard a single statement from this guy, but apparently you can go back. I don't believe they've been deleted, but you can, like, find his Reddit username. You can go back and look at his posts. I think he had a YouTube channel even. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't afraid to share his theories. Then we're not afraid to do the same.
Yeah, well, listen, if, when someone finds it, hopefully it's us, but if it's not, we guarantee you got a spot on this podcast to talk about it, baby. You're welcome here. You could stay anonymous. We could do like a voice modulator, whatever you want. Just come on the podcast, baby.
That's right. And so I think with that, we've really established the context. We've set the stage. Whether you're the first time stumbling into this podcast, no idea, to maybe a seasoned hunter that was, maybe you weren't 200 meters from Fenn's chest, but maybe you had cracked it and figured it was a 9-mile hole. Either way, no matter who you are, as I said, we are glad you are here. But that is going to do us for this one. And so as we close, I believe that the key to this search and the key to this podcast is really focused around some core questions. And I believe that once one or perhaps more of these are answered, that is what we will need to unlock the location. Core question number 1, the checkpoint. Where does it occur in the search? Which step, more importantly, Can it be found online or must it be in person? This information is not yet known. Number 2, the cipher. Justin has stated there is a very simple cipher, which when decoded unlocks like a much clearer meaning. Right now, I think my approach has really been focused on trying to crack the cipher. But again, we'll explore all elements of this chase. And then finally, the name of this whole thing, Beyond the Map's Edge. What does that mean? I believe the answer to that could unlock so much. But with that said, right now, all we really have is questions, but over time we hope to bring you many answers. Any final thoughts?
I am ready to dive in deep.
All right, well, thank you so much for listening to the debut episode of The Hunt for Posey's Treasure. As we said, please give us a follow, a subscription, leave us a review right out of the gate would be dope. And we have an email out there. If you want to contact us, share your thoughts, your theories, all that good stuff, reach out to us. That email is thehuntforposey'streasure@gmail.com. As I said, we will be bringing you new episodes every week. We will be, hopefully at some point, live streaming, and we'll be out there. And one of us among us, ideally the 2 hosts you're listening to now, will find this treasure.
Yes, stay curious and good luck.
Happy hunting.